Hey guys, my name is Marissa, and in this video I'll be talking about how and why I left the traditional art career path to pursue product design and tech. This is not going to be a step-by-step guide by any means, but I do hope that this will provide some inspiration to those who are looking to make a big career switch. There are 3 things that I'll be covering in this video: my story, the differences and similarities between the two industries, and my pivot. Let's talk a little bit about my background. I grew up around a lot of creatives like my mom, my cousin, so art has always been my favorite subject since preschool. I knew that was what I wanted to do since I was little, and that is me in a dress that I painted when I was only 5 years old. So this is a very good example. And surprise, surprise, I decided to pursue a BFA or Bachelor of Fine Arts. I tried out so many things in college, from fashion design to photography to graphic design. During my junior year of college, I decided to hone in on textiles and fashion design. And I loved every second of it. The late night studio, creating art with friends, the art history classes, until my senior year of college, where I had to create a digital portfolio of my work. And that was the very first time I was exposed to any sort of web design and user experience design. And I would spend hours tweaking my portfolio website, which was hosted on Squarespace, and I still remember that. It was very simple. I also realized there was a major called new media that I could potentially explore, but that meant that I would have to stay in school longer to complete all those prerequisites, and I was only a semester away from graduation. Plus, I had a fashion show to prepare for, and I just wasn't ready to break up with fashion just yet. I moved to New York after graduation because that's what every fashion students do. There wasn't that many jobs available to me. It was a very tough career path to be in. On top of that, 99% of the internships and new grad positions are unpaid. I even went as far as camping outside those offices and handing out my cards, putting up stickers all over Soho with my fashion design Insta handle on it. 2 months post-graduation, I landed an unpaid position at one of the biggest fashion houses in New York. I will not be naming names in this video, but I would just wake up feeling so uninterested in my job. My manager wasn't calling me by my name. I was running around New York, like getting fabric samples, people's laundry, coffee. During New York Fashion Week, my friends and we were working till 2 a.m. in the morning, getting the collection ready. And I was just really, really miserable. To see if there were careers outside of my current awareness that I could potentially explore. And the first thing that came to mind was user experience design, since I really enjoyed putting together my portfolio website. So I started comparing the differences and similarities between the two. And I used this framework called the double diamond diagram to look at how these two industries, fashion and tech, start the design process. In fashion, they would do a trend forecast to see what is going to sell well in the next season. For digital products, they would try to uncover people's pain points through user interviews, observations, surveys, and just talking to them. After you completed the research from both industries, then you would narrow down. In fashion, you would create a visual mood board with fabric swatches and accessories, whatever you want the mood and tone to be. But when you look at digital products, it's very problem solving. So you would try to synthesize all the data that you gather from user interviews and come up with what the common themes are. Then it's time for building. In fashion, you would go into garment construction phase, so designing what the clothes would look like, doing sample, overseeing the manufacturers. On the other hand, digital products, designers would do a user flow on how someone would go from one screen to another and working with developers to implement the app or the product. And the last phase is delivery. In fashion, the finished product will end up on the runway, retail stores, online stores. For digital products, it will most likely end up on the internet, so the App Store, the Play Store. As you can see, there are still a lot of overlap between the two industries. And again, this is based on my personal experience, so other fashion designers might have a completely different experience than I did. And after this reflection, I found myself feeling quite uneasy about the design process and how fashion to me felt more like an artist's expression and that people weren't really considered in the design process. I also realized that most fashion designers seek inspiration that will fulfill their own creative calling. But for UX designers, the goal is to fulfill someone's needs or pain points. Another thing was that for digital products, iteration doesn't stop after the launch. You always have to continuously iterate and improve with the people who use your product. But if we talk about clothes, and they will most likely end up in the trash after a year or two because of fast fashion. There is no going back, there is no iteration. Once the clothes leave the factory, it's done. Then it became pretty clear to me that I should make a switch. I went to UX Design Day Bootcamp to feel it out. I talked to designers who came from a similar background. I did some hackathons. So my student visa ran out, so I had to go back to Thailand. And Thailand at the time didn't have much of a startup scene, so I was building my portfolio to apply to grad school. I was looking at schools that offer a master in UX design, and I applied to 3 schools: UW, CMU, and Pratt. Unfortunately, I didn't get into any of them. However, I got waitlisted for one of the programs at UW called Human-Computer Interaction Design. I decided to follow up with the admission team once a week and send them almost like a newsletter on what I was up to. For example, I was doing a design podcast at a time with a friend in Thailand, so I would email a weekly episode with a little translation. And I was desperate, okay? It felt like that was my only chance. Eventually, I got accepted. It was a 1-year program. I moved to Seattle. I networked the hell out of it and landed my first full-time product design job right before graduation. And the rest is history. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like and subscribe button. Feel free to leave any questions you have in the comments and I'll make a more in-depth video on it. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're thinking of switching your career, this is your sign to do it.